Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 24 Driver Career Mode with myself driving for RB in our second season. If you did miss the last episode, it was Sergio Perez who claimed an upset victory at the Dutch Grand Prix ahead of myself and Max Verstappen, who rounded out the podium. Sergio Perez just showed absolute dominant pace and it took the lead and ran off with it, and I definitely think in that race I maximised the result, getting a P2, and we had a good battle with Max Verstappen towards the end to keep it. And it was also lots of desperation coming from Lando Norris as he sent a very audacious dive bomb on myself on the opening lap, causing himself some damage for him to finish further down in the points, and that left the championship standings as Max Verstappen leading it by 53 points to Lando, and then it's George Russell sitting in third, 119 points behind myself. We now jump up to P5, jumping ahead of Fernando Alonso, but we're still 8 points behind Sergio Perez. Daniel Ricciardo is in 16th, 1 point behind Alex Albon. And Red Bull currently lead the Constructors' Championship by 78 points to McLaren. Mercedes are in third, 177 points behind. And RB, we are currently 6th, 24 points behind Aston Martin. And we're going to take a look now at our final secret meeting with Mercedes. So we're going to go jump straight into it, and the information that we currently have is George Russell has a third and Sainz has a P5 to give Mercedes third in the Constructors' Championship, and our performance is a P8 for Ricciardo and a win for ourselves in Canada, and that would put RB in 6th in the Constructors. And Mercedes' development through is, well, it's actually quite a talking point at the moment as they continue to drop down the performance charts with an 87% success rate. So that's maybe where they're struggling, is just the reliability of their upgrades coming through. We have an 89% success rate, so it's a little bit better, but still it's not inside the 90s. And the new information that we get is the teammate status, where if I was to go to Mercedes, it would be Carlos Sainz out of a seat once again, and I would be very much the second driver to George Russell, and it's just not what I'm after going into my third season. So we're going to end our talks with Mercedes, and that is going to be it. Kaput, done, not signing with Mercedes for season 3 of this driver career mode.
Hey, just a quick one for me. The team are pleased that you've declined that meeting. Gold star, brownie points, etc., etc. I guess we'll see if anything else more exciting comes calling, but let's focus on our current seat for now.
And now that I've got some pretty good brownie points with RB, we're going to go to the chassis department, where we've got a major weight reduction upgrade that we can take a look at. And with the failure rates, a standard development would pretty much be a guarantee to get it on 0%, but it would be before the Singapore Grand Prix, so a few races away. But if we take a look at the rush development, it's only 25%, which is pretty good, and we can get it in before Baku, so a race earlier than what the standard development is going to get it. So we will rush this part in the hope to try and get it a bit sooner, since it is a major development part. And now we're going to take a look at the entire grid's R&D, and it's going to be Red Bull still the fastest car, but the gap has closed. Both McLaren and Sauber have brought upgrades this weekend, and so have ourselves with Aston Martin, who have also made ground against Red Bull. Mercedes have now closed the gap to Ferrari, so as I was just saying that they haven't been making too much progress, they have made some progress, at least closed the gap to Ferrari, and they now nearly have identical performance going along with Williams and Alpine, who have also closed the gap, but it is Haas that is still the slowest car on paper as now we get ready for qualifying.
They call it the Temple of Speed, and the pilgrims have come to worship. It's all about the speed today. Qualifying awaits us. Welcome to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix.
And as we go into our first qualifying session here at the Temple of Speed, we have got some work to do in practice on the same set of tyres, the soft compound tyres, doing a qualifying run. I was 5 seconds slower than Valtteri Bottas in the Sauber, so I don't know if some sort of glitch happened there or not, but we've got our work cut out for us as we go P3 on our first flying lap there. And I'm going around for another lap here on the same set of tyres. You can see that we've actually gone purple in the first sector, green in the second. Verstappen goes fastest, and then Bottas immediately goes fastest as well. And that will be it for ourselves in that opening session. So it is Bottas in Q1 by 300s to Verstappen. So the Sauber is definitely very quick around here with Tsunoda in P3. Ricciardo, he's in P8, only 300s faster than myself in P9. And knocked out in qualifying 1, it is Esteban Ocon, Logan Sargent, Nico Hulkenberg, Zhou Guanyu, and Lando Norris is knocked out He's qualified absolutely last. So it is now advantage of Verstappen going into the rest of the race weekend as we'll cross the line. And we're going to finish our first flying lap here on a brand new set of soft tyres in qualifying 2. And we go P7. So definitely not going very well at the moment. It's now we're halfway through our second flying lap. This is on a set of used tyres, the ones that we just did a lap on. And we get onto the AstroTurf and then onto the grass. And it gets all wayward from ourselves there. But we pull it back in and you can still see that we're still within the green. So we're still going to be improving onto our next lap time here. It's only going to be by a few hundreds, but it's going to be a improvement nonetheless. We go ahead of our teammate into P13, and now we're on another brand new set of tyres, and we're going out for another lap, but the improvement just isn't there. It's still in the green, but it's only another few hundredths of a second, and it's just not going to be enough. It's P13 for ourselves here in Monza, so we're going to need an absolute miracle in the race here. Valtteri Bottas, once again, he is fastest in qualifying 2 here by 800ths to Max Verstappen. Then it's Piastri in P3. He's a 10th behind and knocked out in qualifying 2. It's Sergio Perez and that dominant Red Bull. And last episode's race winner, he's gone in qualifying 2. George Russell, myself in P13 ahead of our teammate in P14. Carlos Sainz, he's got another Q2 exit for Mercedes.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today, here at the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. With top speeds up to 215 and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour, Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6-mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. Time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Albon, Stroll, Hamilton, Gasly, Perez, Russell, Lightning, Ricardo, Sainz, Ocon, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Joe, and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And alongside me today, a man small in stature but big on comment, Anthony Davidson. Hello. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Mate, that podium last time out was great. I know you got a trophy, but hey, I got a little bonus. So let's do more of that, please, this weekend.
And by the sounds of it, Mark is loving the success. Wants another podium this race weekend. We're going to take a look at the strategy, and hopefully this strategy can take us to points. Starting outside the top 10, I'm just after some points here this race weekend as we now wait for the 5 red lights to go out. And it is lights out, and we're off for the Italian Grand Prix. And it is a very slow start once again for ourselves. We're just not applying enough throttle trying to prevent the wheel spin. And in doing so, I'm just not getting enough throttle to keep the car alive. And it's essentially going to anti-stall off the line. And so we've already lost a ton of positions. And now we're being shafted out wide by, it looks like, Lando Norris and Nico Hulkenberg, who made it 3 wide going through this first chicane here. And it's only been 2 corners, and we're now already down to P18. And by the seams of it, and we're currently in a drag race with Carlos Sainz as we now come up to the next lot of chicanes here around this Monza circuit. And we're going to squeeze out Carlos Sainz there to get ourselves into P17 and tuck in behind Lando Norris, who is definitely going to be on a recovery drive to try and protect whatever championship status he currently has. He is the reigning world champion, and he is looking to try and go back-to-back, but to do that, he has to bridge bridge the gap that Verstappen has built out after that very early dominance in the season, winning the first 4 or 5 races it was of the season. And so Norris has got a lot of ground to make up as Bottas, Verstappen and Tsunoda, those top 3 guys, battling it out extremely hard at the moment. Bottas has been able to drive away just a little bit there. The gap now half a second to second place, which is now his teammate Yuki Tsunoda trying to go around the outside of Parabolica. And is he going to be able to make this move? It looks like he has been able to make it move, but where was he when the DRS board was out? And he does not get the DRS. Actually, no, he does get the DRS, to my surprise, because he was still within the half a second of his teammate there, and Bottas is able to hold on. But further behind, it's Fernando Alonso trying to make the move on Alex Albon in that Williams. And on the exit of turn 2 here, we'll notice that the outside line is definitely where the more traction is going to be, because that's where it's mostly rubbered in. As we take a look here at Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, his first race in Italy as a Ferrari driver. Well, we've had Imola, but this is the Italian Grand Prix, and so the first Italian Grand Prix for Lewis Hamilton as a Ferrari driver. Back to the front though, Yuki Tsunoda, he is looking to line up his teammate for an overtake here. He'll go around the outside as they come through the Ascari chicane, and that is Yuki Tsunoda now into the lead of the Italian Grand Prix ahead of Valtteri Bottas. It's still a Sauber 1-2. Charles Leclerc finds himself in P3 now, being able to get past Max Verstappen. Verstappen falls down to P4, but we've got a 5-car battle here for the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. They're going to be DRS battling with the 2 DRS detection zones that we've got around the circuit. One of the Saubers there, I think it was, or was it, I reckon it was the Ferrari. He was way out into the concrete wall there. The 2 Saubers though, they're continuing to go side by side as they head into the first corner here, but here comes the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc down the inside to make it 3 wide for the lead of the Grand Prix. He's going to be well out wide, but it's going to be the 2 Saubers that hold on just for now, but he'll continue to go side by side with Valtteri Bottas. But in the end, Bottas is going to end up losing out to Max Verstappen as well, so he's had an absolute horrific run. And is this Fernando Alonso looking to try and make the move as well around the outside as they come through into the second chicane? And he is going to get the move completed. That is Alonso now up into P4. Bottas went from the lead of the Grand Prix, it's down to P5 in the end, on board with ourselves. So while all of that was happening, we're now trying to make the move here on Nico Hülkenberg. We're on the racing line, and now we swing it to the inside to try and cover off any last minute dive bomb there from Nico Hülkenberg. And now we can set our eyes onto Lando Norris. He is going to be the next driver that we're going to try and get ourselves around here to see if we can't make any further progress in this Grand Prix and try and get ourselves some points after that absolutely horrific start. And it's taken us 5 laps to start making any progress back through the field. We're going to get our first objective of the Grand Prix, and Mark knows that we need to make our way through the field here, because it is Lando Norris is the next target that Mark has got ourselves on by, and we need to do that within the next 4 laps. Back to the front of the Grand Prix though, going on to lap 6, it is Charles Leclerc looking to try and take the lead away from Yuki Tsunoda. He goes to the outside at turn 1. We'll give him the inside for turn 2, but the outside is the preferred racing line, as that's going to be where the better traction is, and Yuki Tsunoda holds on just for now. But behind him, it is absolute mess. Everyone is going side by side with everyone. Bottas is still in P5, but further up the field, Charles Leclerc, he's actually managed to probably dump a bit of ERS here, and he's got himself to the lead. Tsunoda is now under attack from Verstappen. Verstappen will have to sit tight in P3 for now, but the new leader, it's Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari for the Italian Grand Prix. While all of that was happening, there's just so much going on that we keep having to chop it back and forth here. That on board with myself here, I make the move on Lando Norris. A little bit of rear locking there as I had to lift off the brakes to try and bring myself up side by side with him. And then as I reapplied, when I realised there was a bit of a concertina effect happening up ahead with Gasly and Russell coming to near stop in the chicane, I had to reapply the brakes, and that caused the rears to start locking up. As we take a look here at Max Verstappen, he's done well to stay inside the top 3. And his day has just got so much worse on a day where he could have expanded his championship lead so much further than it already is. He is now out of the Grand Prix with an engine failure from 3rd position. And with the rest of the field being held up by Max Verstappen's engine failure there, we've now got a 2-car breakaway from the rest of the field. So it's Yuki Tsunoda who now takes the lead away from Charles Leclerc. And then it is nearly 4 seconds behind those two where we find this battle of heap of cars here, and they're going 3 wide once again. This time Lewis Hamilton, he's all the way to the inside there, and he won't be able to make up any positions, but it is Bottas that holds on to the P3. Alex Albon will sit in P4, but here comes Hamilton. He's now trying to get Fernando Alonso here, so that was one of the cars that he was trying to battle along with, and he just couldn't get it. Piastri, he's also managed to get by Fernando Alonso. So what's happened here? Did he just get an absolute shocker of an exit coming out of that chicane? But on board with ourselves as we now go on to lap 7 of this Grand Prix. So much much has already happened. Only 7 laps into this race. We're lining up Pierre Gasly here, so we tuck out of the slipstream and we go down the inside of not only Gasly but also George Russell. We're going to get the move done, and we did try and see if we couldn't line up a good exit there to try and get Esteban Ocon, but it just wasn't to be. But we'll still take those 2 positions to get us now up into P12 of this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton's looking to try and get himself further up the field. The 2 Ferraris now inside the top 5, and I'm sure this will soon become the 2 Ferraris inside the top 4, but Oscar Piastri is going to go to the inside here, 3 wide. Once again, Lewis Hamilton, again, is going to get stuck on the very inside of a 3 wide battle there through that chicane, and that's going to leave him out vulnerable, as now Oscar Piastri is looking to try and go side by side with him. Could he try and get Alex Albon, just like he did Fernando Alonso in the last lap? And no, he can't. But here comes Lewis Hamilton, and I thought he was going to go for a dive there on Albon, and that could have ended tragically for him. Lap 8 of the Grand Prix. We now go for a very late dive on Esteban Ocon. This will get us up into P11 if we're able to make this one stick. We're on the preferred racing line on the outside there of turn 2, and we do get the better traction, and that is us now up into P11. Our teammate is just ahead of us in P10, and now we can try and settle into a rhythm, try and catch up to the back of our teammate Daniel Ricciardo and see where we can go from here. We've got a lot of battling up ahead that's slowing him down so much. I didn't even expect to be able to make a move. We were nearly a second behind our teammate there, and we've ended up just swinging it around the outside. They slowed up so much, it caught me well off guard. Had to take an evasive maneuver there, and it ended up turning into an overtake, a very cool overtake. Lewis Hamilton is looking to try and get himself ahead of Alex Albon once again. This time, he's not going to get dive bombed to make it 3 wide, but again, he's on the inside, so he's not going to get that traction that he needs to get to be able to pass Alex Albon here. Piastri will sit behind him, so will Sergio Perez. The 2 Astons of Alonso and Stroll. Daniel Ricciardo has got himself back past myself, so he's back inside the top 10. I now drop outside the top 10. But us battling is, at this point of the Grand Prix, not really slowing us up, because there's so many battles happening further up the field that is slowing them down as well. So you can just see how big of a battle pack we've got here. So it's pretty much from P4 down to currently Zhou Guanyu in P19, who is last at the moment. So we've essentially got P4 to P19 all in the one battle pack. We make a move here to try and get ourselves back inside the top 10. So will our teammate. He's going to get himself up into P8. Quite nicely done to get himself ahead of both Astons in the one move there. We will take advantage of a napping Lance Stroll, and that'll get us up inside the top 10 once again. But we've now got Lewis Hamilton. He is under attack from the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. Piastri, he'll tuck in behind the slipstream. He can't get it done there, but Lewis Hamilton will now finally get himself into a position where he'll be on the outside of Alex Albon to get himself the better traction, and he will finally get this overtake completed. It's only taken him about 5 laps to figure that one out, but that is now both Ferraris inside the top 4 here in Monza. But the Saubers in first and third, they also run a Ferrari power unit, so it's really a Ferrari power unit 1, 2, 3, 4 here in Italy. Oscar Piastri makes himself up into P5 here, but he's on the wrong side, so Alex Albon will get the better traction. He'll get ahead of Piastri once again. Daniel Ricciardo, he's currently in P8, on myself in at P9, as we made ourselves through on Fernando Alonso there, and now Mark wants us to be able to get ourselves ahead of Ricciardo, so I think he knows we've got the better pace over our teammate, but we just keep getting overtaken through the DRS, but that is going to get postponed pretty much immediately, as we now come into the pit lane for our one and only pit stop in today's Grand Prix. We'll be stopping for the hard compound tyres. We've got Esteban Ocon right behind us. We'll pull it in. It's an optimal turn in, and so now it's up to the boys and girls in the pit lane to get a good stop. It's a 2.4, but we have to wait for the Haas there of Zhou Guanyu to come through, and we have been jumped by Ocon. So we have not only got to try and now get ourselves back ahead of Ocon, but we have got to try and pull out some quali laps if we want to try and make any sort of undercut work here, pitting this early compared to the rest of the field. Alex Albon got himself back ahead there of the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton. It's now race leader Yuki Tsunoda on lap 13. He comes into the pit lane. I would imagine he's also going to be coming in for the hard compound tyres, considering he started on the mediums, and we'll have to find out. And it's a very long, well, it feels like a long pit lane here in Monza, considering the nature of the high speed circuit. It is, it is called the Temple of Speed for a reason. Yuki Tsunoda looks like to have had a very good pit stop there for himself. We're in the slipstream of Esteban Ocon with the DRS. He does not have DRS, and just look at the train of cars coming out of the pit lane. We go to the outside of Ocon, but he's swerving to avoid a slow Daniel Ricciardo coming out of the pit lane there, and so that got all very messy, but it's worked, and we've also jumped our teammate. So that outlap wasn't too bad at all in the end. Sergio Perez, he's looking to try and get himself ahead of Oscar Piastri. how he swing it to the outside, and that is him through at the Ascari chicane and up into P3 at the moment, but he is still yet to make a pit stop, and so the only car ahead of him that did make the pit stop, Yuki Tsunoda, so he is realistically a net P4 now. More cars coming out the pit lane. Fernando Alonso gets himself stuck behind Sergio Perez. Very easy overtake for ourselves. There's a lock-up ahead from Lewis Hamilton, I believe it was. We get dive-bombed by Perez, and now it's an absolute drag race, and we're locking wheels, but we'll get the position on Perez, and that is us now up into P6. So we have made absolutely mega ground through this pit stop phase so far, and we are absolutely on for a good amount of points here this weekend, and our next objective is to make sure that we do not have any more than 2 collisions. So the last couple of laps with just the awkwardness of trying to make an overtake going into turn 1 with everyone coming out the pit lane, a little bit of wheel banging was happening, and so Mark wants us just to calm it down a little bit now. Just calm it down. The pit cycle's over. We don't have to worry about that now, so we can just focus on real clean overtakes. And speaking of clean overtakes, Daniel Ricciardo beautifully around the outside at Parabolica to get himself up into P8 ahead of Fernando Alonso, but he may become vulnerable now, since he does not have the DRS, so he looks like he may get swamped here by this battle pack. Ocon going to his outside, and I reckon Fernando will go to his inside, and they may go 3 wide, but it looks like Ricciardo's been able to block off Alonso, and so it's only Ocon he has to worry about. But we're going to go back to ourselves, because Perez has been trying to get the move done on ourselves. A little bit of a wheel bang as we come out of turn 2. It's a drag race now to the next chicane, but I think we might just have it covered off. We do get it covered off by Sergio Perez. Esteban Ocon did manage to get through on our teammate, unfortunately. So our teammate does fall down to P9. Ocon is up to P8, but that was a brilliant defense there to only lose the 1 position down that main straight, considering he's got the rest of the field behind him. P9 to P19, all directly behind him, but he will not take very long at all, and he will take only, I think it was only a lap in the end, and he swung it around the outside of Parabolica to get himself back through on S1 Ocon. We have caught up to the back of Lewis Hamilton, so we're going to be using the DRS here to try and make a move on Lewis Hamilton down the main straight here at Monza, and under the brakes we're going to look to the outside of Alex Albon, and we'll turn to the inside, so it's not really the preferred racing line. A little bit of contact that unsettles the car, and we do not get the run that we need for Alex Albon, and surprisingly that little bit of contact did not count towards our objective, which is very good to know, because we only get 2 chances to pass this one. But now we're going 3 wide into Parabolica. We're getting squeezed by both Perez and Hamilton. There's lots of contact. We're pinballing in between the 2 of them, and we've somehow managed to get a better run than them as well. And so we go 3 wide down the main straight, and it's an absolute drag race, and we're going to see the true straight line speed of all these cars. And it looks like the Ferrari has actually got the better straight line speed. We box Perez in behind the Ferrari there of Lewis Hamilton. We go to the outside, so we're going to get the better traction, and now I can put our focus back to Alex Albon here, and that got really clumsy, and that could have been disastrous. And speaking of disastrous, that was a bit of body panel there I saw flying in the middle of that battle pack, so someone just picked up a little bit of damage there as Oscar Piastri, he's looking to try and get himself ahead here of the Alpine, of Esteban Ocon, and will he try and go around the outside? No, he can't get it done, so he will have to sit in at P10 just for now. Back on board with ourselves, so we're going on to lap 20, so we're getting into the closing stages of the Grand Prix. We managed to pass the objective, so we managed to keep it clean enough for Mark to stay happy, and now we have got enough speed here to try and get ourselves ahead of Alex Albon. We're close enough. This time, no contact. We give him the squeeze on the exit, get the better traction, and that is us now up into P4, and we can try and see if we can try and catch Valtteri Bottas. He is 5 seconds up the road, though, so that is going to need an absolute mega amount of pace if we want to try and close 5 seconds in the last 7 laps of this Grand Prix. Alex Albon, though, he's not wasting any time to get himself back ahead of ourselves, so we may be DRS swapping for a little bit here. But behind us, it is 3 wide. Our teammate, Daniel Ricciardo, he swings it all the way to the inside, cuts back across to essentially block out Sergio Perez from being able to try and keep it 3 wide, and our teammate, that is absolutely brilliant stuff there. He'll get himself up into P6 now, and pretty much a triple overtake he just performed there. Piastri will get himself ahead of Sergio Perez as well, so Perez must have dumped a heap of ERS, and now he's struggling down this next little straight, going into this next chicane here, and Hamilton is also now found himself in P9, so he's dropped down the field a little bit as well. So all of this battling here is really mixing up the field here, because you've got the 2 Saubers inside the top 3. They're only split by Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, and he's 10 seconds behind Yuki Tsunoda. So the Saubers genuinely have a lot of pace at this race weekend. And then you've got the Williams. I guess the Williams isn't too much of a massive surprise. The Williams has always been known to be a straight line machine. Then you got the two RBs up in P5, P6. We're doing pretty good here. But you got Piastri. He's having to battle an Alpine at the moment. The Alpine's like second slowest car at the moment in this season. And then you got the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez. And they're currently sitting P9, P10 on board with ourselves here. And we've got the DRS once again. And we're going on to lap 22. We're going to be looking to the outside, but we haven't been able to outbrake him just enough. So this is actually going to be costing us too much time here to go side by side. So you can see now the gap is now over 5 seconds to Valtteri Bottas. So we're losing time. So I don't quite think we're going to be able to get a podium this race weekend, but we can definitely keep trying to set some fast laps. And now, rather than fast laps, Mark is just after some consistency from ourselves. It's trying just to maintain an average lap time here. And I guess I can agree with that. If I keep trying to push, I'm going to make mistakes, and that could cost me a P4 here as we can look further down the field here. So it's Sergio Perez. He's making the move on Esteban Ocon and Lewis Hamilton. So that's now him up into P7. So a really good move here, but has he gone too early? Does he now not have the DRS? And could he be now vulnerable down this main straight? Valtteri Bottas has just made a move up into P2 there. You'll see on the totem pole. We'll have a look at that once this battle has come to somewhat of a conclusion for now until we reach the next DRS zone. They're going 3 wide behind Sergio Perez. Perez should be able to hold this on because he'll have the outside here on the Alpha and you'll get the better exit here. And George Russell, where has Russell come from? Russell has found himself a part of this battle pack now, and he's found himself ahead of Lewis Hamilton. This is how Valtteri Bottas managed to get himself up into P2 to make it Sauber 1-2. Charles Leclerc, actually, I haven't noticed this. Charles Leclerc running with a bit of damage there. So the fact that he's up inside the top 3 is showing that Ferrari's just got really good pace at the moment. So that was how Valtteri got himself to make it into a Sauber 1-2 here in Italy. Perez in P7, Ocon, and then it's Russell, Piastri. That's the top 10. But the battle pack doesn't end there because you've got a further 3 or 4 cars hooked onto the back of that battle pack. For ourselves, though, we haven't been able to really pull ahead of Alex Albon, so Albon will use the DRS. He'll get himself ahead of ourselves, but we're not really too fussed with that because we just know that we'll have the DRS in the next lap and we should be able to get him back once again. But Bottas and Leclerc, they're going to continue battling it out for P2, and there's contact going into the chicane there. Just when you think his front wing couldn't take any more damage, Charles Leclerc says, I would make that more thanks, and he will take a little bit more damage. It doesn't visibly look damage any further, but that could just be the game not rendering in that damage from such a far distance where the camera was situated. But nonetheless, Leclerc is up into P2, Bottas back into P3. George Russell, he's now looking to make a move here onto Esteban Ocon, and he will go around the outside of Parabolica. We also, I completely forgot to mention this, we saw ourselves get up back up into P4. We're back into P4, so just as I said with the DRS, we're back into P4. George Russell, he'll continue to battle it out here. He does have the DRS. Sergio Perez does not have the DRS, so does Perez become vulnerable here? They're all fanning out. Perez goes very defensive to the inside. Russell looks to the outside, but Perez, once again, he's going to be on that preferred racing line as they come out of turn 2 here. He'll get the traction down, and he will be safe from George Russell. Behind them, it's Oscar Piastri making himself ahead now of Esteban Ocon, and it looks like he's got a run here on George Russell as well. Is he going to look to the outside, and is he going to be able to get the move to get himself up into P8? He'll swing it to the outside, and that is Oscar Piastri up into P8 now. And so he is doing a somewhat of recovery here. He is going to be, at this point in time, the only point scorer for McLaren. There's a lap and a half to go. Bottas is sweeping around the outside at Ascari, and that is Bottas back up into P2 to make it a Sauber 1-2. On board with ourselves here, we complete our average lap time objective as we go onto the last lap of the Grand Prix there. We've got over a second to Alex Albon, so we're safe from Albon at the moment. All we have to do is just keep it on the track and we will be good. You can see the second and third just up ahead of the road. Behind us though, George Russell, he is looking to try and get himself that P8 back away from Oscar Piastri with the DRS. He'll go to the inside, and this will give him the outside for turn 2, so he should be all good to keep this position, and he will keep the position, and that is him up into P8. Piastri will drop in down into P9, but Yuki Tsunoda, he has tried for many years. He left the Red Bull team, and he is now a race winner in Formula 1 for Sauber of all teams. Bottas, he's going to bring it home, and he'll finish in a P2. It's Sauber 1-2 here in Italy. Charles Leclerc will bring it home for the Tifosi in a P3, and for ourselves, we had an absolute shocker of a start, fell down to nearly plumb last, and we have recovered to a P4. A brilliant, brilliant recovery from ourselves.
Yuki Tsunoda takes the checkered flag and wins.
A great victory for them today, Crofty. And, you know, it gets to this part in the championship, you're getting tired, you're feeling the fatigue of a long season. Not many races to go now, though. And if you can keep this kind of performance up, it's going to serve you well through to the end of this year.
So here they come now, out onto the podium. It's thrilling to see this team go toe-to-toe with the best in the sport and come out on top. What a superb victory for the Sauber team.
What a race, a first career victory for Yuki Tsunoda, and Bottas bringing it home for a Sauber 1-2. Never would have I thought that a Sauber 1-2 would have been possible, let alone in Monza. And Leclerc, as I said before, for the Tifosi, he'll go up onto the podium and get a P3, and yeah, good recovery for myself to get a P4 in the end. And we'll take a look at the rest of the top 10. Alex Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, and Lewis Hamilton finishing inside the points there. Lando Norris, he couldn't capitalise though on Verstappen's misfortune with that engine failure, and so he'll finish P12, so he won't actually gain any points whatsoever on Max Verstappen in this World Drivers' Championship, and we'll take a look at that now. Verstappen leads by 53 points to Lando Norris. Russell, he will close in the points though to 115 behind myself. We now jump to P5 now, only 2 points behind Perez. Ricardo now moves up to P15, 3 points behind Alex Albon. Red Bull lead the Constructors' Championship by 82 points to McLaren, and then it is Mercedes P3, 179 points behind. RB, we're P6, only 4 points now behind Aston Martin, so P5 is definitely on. For our driver ratings, our experience, awareness, pace, and focus, they've all gained plenty of points. Our racecraft has moved up to level 92 for an overall rating of level 90. And for our driver recognition, it has actually improved up to 61% against Daniel Ricciardo, and that just means we're one step closer to the final lot of upgrades that we can get, which is at 65% driver recognition. And that is going to be all for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next episode where we go to Baku City for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I'll see you then.